Hello, my name is Gbohunmi. I am a creative that focuses on visuals and also some music. So I'm a director, photographer, cinematographer, and editor, and then I also rap. For me, what's inspired me to pursue my creative passion is just a love of doing things. I think life is so interesting in the sense you have absolute freedom. Like you can truly do anything you want. And so for me, I've sort of been inspired to pursue that for example, I grew up around a lot of music, and that's what sort of started things off. I really enjoyed film ever since I was a kid. And so I always thought, like, why not make my own music? Why not make my own movies? Why not take my own pictures? And it's sort of been due to a lack of being able to pick one thing or box myself in, so to speak. That's why I kind of do everything or anything I find interesting. And it's just, these are the things that I wanted to pursue that I found to be personally interesting and super fulfilling, and that's what I go after. Especially like film and visual arts as a medium, you could really do anything within that space. And with music too, you can move people, excite people, you can just do it for yourself. You can really tell almost any story and do anything with any of these mediums. So that was a big thing that started for me. So originally speaking, I guess you'd say the big thing that started things off was a love of music and acting. And then over time, I think it was like 2017, I really got into the idea of writing my own stories. And so then from there, it was about creating my own stories and trying to shoot them and I transform, or I guess into a directorial sense. And then I really enjoyed the process of framing, like lighting and really creating a scene, a mood, an atmosphere, all of that. So I got into cinematography, and then I loved stills, I got into photography. So it's kind of just like a little bit of a snowball effect of just loving one thing and just not wanting to stop and wanting to do it all. So over time, from where I started now, I work freelance as a director, photographer, cinematographer, and editor. I'll kind of freelance do any of those. And then the music is more for myself, as in like I won't make music for someone else, but I'll release it for myself, like for other people, I guess you'd say, but I'm not like a freelance songwriter, so to speak. But yeah, so over time though, in the last 2 months especially, I've been focused a lot more on the video side of things, as in doing a lot of directing and a lot of editing. And but nevertheless, I don't like to pigeonhole myself, so to speak, and be like, oh, I guess this is just what I'm doing now because that's what I happen to be doing right now. It's just the current phase I'm in. It just so happens that those were the opportunities that came. But I'm looking forward to keep going, to making more music, to taking more photos, and just keep progressing in those lanes and pushing not only my skills, but pushing the medium of those things. Especially recently, I've been very intrigued by directors or artists that try to do something that not necessarily just hasn't been done before, but to remix and to recreate. Like, a great example of this, which has just sort of been in my mind, is not just non-linear storytelling, but storytelling that really puts you in the mind of the writer or the storyteller. And sometimes, especially now with these stories that are almost too meta, they're perhaps not received as well, or whatever the case is, but it's still out there and it exists. And I just love creating stuff that I'm glad it exists, or I love seeing stuff that might be weird, might not get it, but I'm glad it exists. Great example of that, Christopher Nolan's last movie, or not last movie, 2 movies ago, or 1 movie ago, what's it called? Tenet. The fact that it's like the protagonist is called protagonist. Like, it's so like, I'm feeling like, there's no emotional connection, but it's like, you could say the idea landed, didn't land, it doesn't really matter. I'm just glad it like exists. Or the guy directed Mad Max, what's his name? I always forget his name. He was a doctor, but he did 1,000 Years Along. Weird ass movie. It's like, why is it formatted this way? What's like this odd story structure? Is it real? Is it not real? And so, yeah, that's just been a big inspiration of mine recently, is to go into that territory of, this may not land, I haven't really seen this before, but I want to at least put it out there so it exists. And that's what I've been really enjoying, and something that I want to do myself. My favorite project that I've worked on currently would have to be my short film, All Is Not Forgotten. I love it because I think to date it's probably the best thing that I've ever done. I wrote, directed, produced, edited the whole thing, so I think that it's I've never done anything on that scale before, And I love it because it's truly living up to what I believe in the sense of just like going out there and doing something. If you're alive, you gotta do something. It's something I was passionate about, and it's something that I truly saw to the end, and I'm very excited for it to release in the festival circuit next year. I think two biggest challenges. One is money, and then two is, for lack of a better term, I'll call them industry blockades, so to speak. And it's not necessarily due to like a specific person or perhaps policy in the industry, but it's just, especially when you're starting out, it's hard to make a name for yourself, and a lot of the work or things you get is based on reputation, who you know, what you haven't, who you don't know. And so yeah, sometimes it's difficult to really create the things that I want to create because I don't have the money to, or it's like you're sacrificing one thing to fund this dream or passion. And then the other side is to get in the room or to be in the conversation of certain opportunities that have the funding or like that are on the scale of where I personally want to be. It's just barriers of connections, not knowing the right person, and not even being able to get in contact with that person. So, and then how do I overcome it? I guess stubbornness, not giving up. For the money part, the big thing is being creative, finding a way around it. Like, okay, maybe I can't rent out a whole city block, but can you shoot it with a very small crew that you can use a real city block? Can you do other things to cheat the angles? Let's say you don't have makeup to do this stunt properly, whatever the case is. Are there other ways that you can fake it or think of a creative solution? And then as for these industry blockades, so to speak, or getting connections, I guess the big thing is just keep on keeping on. Just keep trying, keep sending your emails, keep sending your phone calls, keep trying and just not giving up. It's like one of those things where either you'll happen or you'll die first. One of those two things will definitely happen. For my creative process, since I love sound, audio, I think it's odd that I spend so much time in visuals. I guess music is audio as well, but like even how I perceive audio and sounds translates to my visuals. So for me creatively, it all starts with what do I want this picture to sound like? Which sounds like an odd thing to say, but that's how I approach it. Everything to me has a rhythm, there's a beat, there's a sound to it. And so a lot of the times, it's like a form of synesthesia, so you can speak. Synesthesia? Shit, I forget what the word is. But like, the translation of audio into visual. And for me, that is my base. And especially like I started visually with editing. Editing has a rhythm to it. So it's the same thing. It's my guiding principle. Pacing is a rhythm. So when I'm writing, it's the same thing. It has a rhythm to it. And then same thing with the visuals. When I'm shooting it, there's a rhythm to it. How long should this beat or scene or image last, etc., etc. So a lot of the times, that's where things start off. Like my film that I was talking about earlier, All's Not Forgotten. It all started because I listened to this like best of Peppino Gagliardi hits at my former day job. And that sound inspired me to write the script that turned into the film that it is. So a lot of the times it starts out with something I hear and then ends with something else. There's no specific single through-line sort of message or emotion I'm trying to convey through all my work. Rather, each one is kind of different. Some of them, want to make you laugh, make you cry, or whatever the case is. But the one thing I will say that is a through-line is I want it to be uniquely me and different. In the sense that, like, everything, of course, especially when it comes to storytelling or even music or whatever it is that I'm focused in, there's going to be inspirations. I'll remix, I'll borrow, I'll use, I'll steal, but then do it uniquely my way. I'm the only version of me that's ever existed or will exist, and every single person is the only version of themselves that has ever existed or will exist. And I think that's something very unique, and people sometimes do a huge disservice when they just redo things the exact same way. But it's put your spin on it. What's your version of this? So my work, I want it to be my version of whatever it is I'm doing, to make it different, make it interesting. So someone will be like, hey, I've never seen that specific way before. Well, we'll see it again because it's uniquely you.